this is our first video series. It's because we need to hire 10 people between April and June. Everything that I say in this video will be available down below. So the 10 core hires we have is about social media, an assistant to the CEO, the COO, backups, all iOS, Android, web developers, database administrators, UX professionals, and some creatives. But the real purpose of this video is to share what is Intergreatme about, what is our culture, and what is our hiring process, because we want to intentionally repel those which will not fit in with the culture, and we want to actively attract those which will belong within our culture. So very often people say, hey, Intergreatme, you're a tech company, so like I'm not a developer, so do I belong? And I'll challenge people to say that actually we're not a tech company the same way you're not a mechanic because you drive a car to work. You use your car as a vehicle to get to work. We're a people company, and we solve problems that everyday people like you and I and friends and family face, and you generally use process and psychology to solve that problem, and then you want to automate that process, so then you use technology as a vehicle to automate that process to solve the human problem. So just because you can't code and develop doesn't mean that there isn't a place for you within Intergreatme. High level things, people say, hey, do I need a degree and the likes? No, you don't. If you've got some experience, you've got some competence, and you're proactive, welcome on board. I'm going to dive into why we started the business quickly for some context, and then I'm going to dive into the values. And the significance of the values is that's who we hire, that's who we promote, that's who we fire, that's who we decide to partner with, that's who we decide to take on as investors. If you're in line with our values, then it will be as if you are playing. You'll be energized in the work environment. There won't be a contradiction between your internal self and your external self. It should just be an authentic process. So again, these are our values. Like, they'll be down below, and you can find them on our website. The 6 core values is trust, curiosity, transparency, proactively creating value, dialogue, and gratitude. And I'm going to dive into them in a little bit of detail because it's important to understand what they are, because we have a values-based leadership approach. So trust is our ultimate loyalty lies with the end user. The reason we started this business is we never wanted to fill out forms again or provide supporting documentation. So anywhere where somebody's asking you for application forms and supporting docs, we let you tap a button and poof, it's done. So it's really important that we protect our users' information, and every single transaction is consent driven and follows a double opt-in principle. More on trust is to say that we value all of our stakeholders, and whenever there's information that comes to us, we will respectfully and candidly disclose that so our stakeholders can act within their best interests. Next value is curiosity. This one is extremely important. It's to say you must have like an active willingness, like a playful desire to learn, to question, to try and understand things, and follow like a first principles approach to solving a problem. Instead of saying, well, that's always why it was done that way, is to say, well, if this is what I want to solve, are there other ways that I can go about it? So you don't need to know the answer, you just need to know that you can figure it out, or you can ask somebody. So there's a certain humility which comes with that curiosity. Another super important value is persistence. There's this idea of a nice Japanese proverb I like, which says, you fall 7 times, you rise 8 times. But we're not stupid in our approach. When we do fall, and we fall often, we take a step back and we reflect and we say, well, how can I rise and be smarter and stronger when I do this? The next important value is proactively creating value. And I like to say sometimes this is, you have a fire inside your heart, and then I can throw wood on you as a leader to say, well, I can promote you, I can put you in important meetings, I can upskill you, I can send you on courses. If you understand what we're doing as a business and the value we want to create for our end users, you should be able to look within for permission and then create that value and ask for forgiveness later. So if you're already creating value, 9 times out of 10 people are going to say, oh, high five, that was great. But if you're just going to wait and ask to be told what to do, you're probably not the best fit for the startup culture right now. When we become a corporate, well, then you can engage us. But for now, the demands are quite high on, you need to be able to autonomously make decisions and be proactive. The value number 5, which is dialogue. This is the idea of communication and constant feedback, being able to hold crucial conversations and often being able to create this realm of safety and respect for one another where we can discuss sensitive topics. Because we live in a real world, where things happen and shit hits the fan sometimes, and as soon as we know about it, we can act accordingly. But if there's people going to their shell and they hide things, and we have this slow simmering resentment, that doesn't help us create value for our users at the end of the day. So our reason for waking up in the morning is to say, well, we never want to fill out a form again, and we want to give you control of your identity so that you don't have to fill out forms. So it all comes down to what is the vision, what is the purpose, and what are the values associated to that. And then the next most important value, which is the final value, we've got lots of subset values, but is gratitude. This idea of appreciation, reflection, meditation, praising in public, criticizing in public, being kind and generous. So often it's easy to criticize things. We're often embarrassed about like the latest version of the app or the website because whatever's on the store now is 2 weeks ago, and we've got like our product roadmap and we know how incredible it can be. So often, like if we're having like a little criticizing moment, we'll say, well, let's just take a step back, and like 6 months back, and then we look to today, we'd be immensely proud. It would be a privilege to be where we are today. So those are the values. So then the next thing we talk about is mindsets or themes or perspectives. So there's this big concept of attention is more important than time, which is more important than money. Whatever you focus your attention on, that is what manifests. So if you look at like a Facebook or Google, and they sell advertising as a commodity, like that's how they monetize their platform. Like they actually sell little pieces of your attention span on the stock exchange. So whatever we are focusing on, that is what will monetize. So one of the reasons, or not monetize, materialize. One of the reasons we're focusing so much on doing these little videos is before, when I wanted to hire staff, like I had to go and hire 10 recruitment agencies, review hundreds of CVs, interview dozens of people in order to get 2 high quality candidates. And that was not a good use of my time and my team's time when we wanted to create value for the end user. People come into the room, they haven't downloaded the app, they haven't been to the website, they don't know what the hell we do, they don't know why we do it, and it's incompatibility. So we're focusing on attention, then time, then money. We've also got this mindset of and. When forced to compromise, ask for more. Pareto principle 80-20, massive. We drive that all the way through to say, well, where should we be focusing our time, and where should we be dedicating tasks, and what tasks can we ignore and accept the consequence of ignoring them. As a leader, I deal with ambiguity, uncertainty, paradox, and contradiction on a daily basis. And as a consequence of that, like the team gets to deal with it too. But instead of like claiming to be this perfect being that knows everything, I like to expose the vulnerability to say, well, this is what I'm dealing with, and like, how can the team help me? Because at the end of the day, this is a team effort to get our company to where we are creating value for our end users. So if those things, ambiguity and uncertainty, scare you a little bit, it's probably not wise for you to send your CV through to us. If it excites you and it stimulates you, then you should send your CV to us. So next up, there's this idea of we are solving problems and we are creating value for our end users, and that's the lens we're looking at the world through. So are we a startup versus a corporate? No, we're a startup, and if the startup is successful, all a startup is an experiment to say, can I find a business model that is repeatable, and then effectively you scale up to become a corporate. So there's a lot of change and uncertainty in the early days, and then as things become more successful, well, then you'll grow big into like a Facebook or an Amazon or something like that. Our specific type of business model is known as a platform business model or an ecosystem business model. So think Airbnb, think Uber, think Facebook, think Google, think Alibaba, Amazon, and the likes. So if you want to understand how our business works, it's a two-sided business model, so there is complexity in it. There's 2 really good books to read. The one is called Platform Revolution, and the other one is called Modern Monopolies. And it's important to understand like the business model that we're using. And there's this concept of natural monopolies, where the real, like an old monopoly would be like vicious and competitive and illegal, like the robber barons with the oil and the railway systems and things. And then you got what's called a natural monopoly, like a Google, where 90% of people use Google, not because they're forced to use it and it's their only option, but because it's the most superior option, which creates value for them. So you could use Bing or you could use Yahoo, but you choose to use Google because it's just such a seamless experience. So in order for us to create value for everybody out there in the market, we need Intergreatme to become a natural monopoly of identity management. It's also important, some other books that you can go check out just for like a high level thing. There's this book on Alibaba. There's the American equivalent. So this is Jack Ma from Alibaba. Then you got Jeff Bezos from Amazon. There's also good platform and ecosystem plays. Elon Musk is pretty good inspiration on like how you keep failing, but if it's important enough and you follow first principles thinking, like you can solve things. So everyone thinks he's made it now because all the rockets are flying, but there was a massive stage where the rockets were blowing up where they thought he was never going to make it. So you need to be able to get through that pessimism. So again, you probably want to be more optimistic than pessimistic if you're going to join us, because there's a lot of down days and everybody only hears about the yeses. You probably get like 99 no's for every yes that you get. So you got to have quite a tough skin. Lean Startup's also quite good to understand the startup world. There's also 2 really good podcasts that I would recommend. The one, they're free on the Apple Store. The one is called How to Start a Startup by Y Combinator. They've got 20-40 minute things there. And then the other one is called Masters of Scale by Reid Hoffman, and that is how to scale your startup. So just to get familiar with how some guys have done it. So the next thing I'll talk about is the hiring process. So obviously as a startup you get a market related salary, plus you get some form of style equity pool option. Even if we love you in your first interview, like we have the 3-3-3 approach, which is we have to interview at least 3 people per role, and you interview them in 3 different locations at 3 different times so that you can get an overall sense of the candidate. Then if we like you, we'll give you a book called Strengths Finder, so we can find your top 5 strengths to see is there like overlap, like is there compatibility with us. And then if we still like you after that, then we'll send you on a psychometrics thing called the Intergreatme. It basically tells us where you fall on the spectrum. There's no right answers to it. It's effectively saying, well, how do I as a leader play to your strengths so that you're coming to work to play and shoot the lights out. I never want to put you in a position where you will fail. That doesn't make sense as a leader. If I was like a coach of a football team, I want to move you to defender, midfielder, striker, goalie, wherever you're going to shine. So these are the 11 roles that we have available now, as I said. But as we are maturing into a corporate, we will need things like legal, risk, compliance, fraud, accounting, HR. So if you feel that you like the culture, you like what we're doing, please come and approach us and we could line up like a 9-month hire or a 12-month hire. We're going to be making 2 video series after this. So the most obvious one is each individual role. We will create a detailed job spec for the role, and then the team which you'll be working with for that role will have a little 3 to 5 minute video where they'll tell you what you can expect on a daily basis. And then you either say, these people look super cool, or oh my god, like I'm totally not going to work there. And we would much rather you don't come and work with us than you come and then there's disappointment. So we just want to be true, raw and authentic and say, well, this is who we are and this is what we do. We're agnostic as to your sex, your race, your culture, whatever it is. If you fall within the Intergreatme value system and you believe in what we're doing, then we will work together great. The next video series that we'll be making is an entrepreneurship video series. So as founders, we've learned a lot on the last 2 years. It's been 18 months since we registered the business. We read tons and tons of books, been to pretty much all the incubators and accelerators that South Africa has. We've been to Amsterdam, we've been to Europe, we've been to the States, and we've learned a bit. So we want to give back in a way and say, well, we can't hire everybody at Intergreatme, we'll hire quite a few people as we grow. But we want to inspire people to start their own businesses. So effectively, I want to say, well, how do you think about a problem? How do you find your co-founders? How do you go into accelerators, bootcamps, incubators? How do you find different funding mechanisms through angels, VCs and the likes? How do you get your first customers? How do you go through procurement? How do you not cut your teeth with structuring things in a legal way? So we want to share those with people. But also we will use video as our means to communicate on our Facebook page. And if you have questions for us, we'll compile them on like a weekly basis, and maybe that'll be the content for our next video. So thank you very much for your time, and please leave your questions in the comments below.